Good day, poker peeps. My name is Sky with Smart Poker Study and thepokerforge.com, which is my monthly training membership site. You are about to take a poker quiz called Post Flop EV. EV stands for expected value, and this quiz is going to throw a few different situations your way, and it's up to you to assess the EV of each of your decisions during these situations. Now, or within the Poker Forge, normally a quiz will follow some kind of a strategy video where I teach you something and then I quiz you on it. So if you want to, maybe before taking this quiz, if you want to listen to the strategy episode that came before the quiz within the Poker Forge, you just got to go to smartpokerstudy.com/EV-mindset. You can follow along, listen to the episode right there, follow along on that show notes page, and then come back here to take the quiz. Or you could just get right to the quiz, which we're going to do right now. So question number 1, we're talking about your options here. Now, options are critical. Never do anything by default. Always consider what you can do before you actually make the play. So here's the situation. You've got the pocket queens. Now, we're on the flop right now, but here's the pre-flop action. It's a 10NL game. Villain 19 open raised, hero 3-bet, villain 19 called. The flop comes down, ace of spades, 3 of clubs, queen of hearts, as you can see. And now villain is donk betting 1/2 pot. Remember, you were the 3-better. Instead of checking and letting you c-bet, they decide to throw out that half pot donk bet. So the first question, what are hero's options? I'll give you 5 seconds. Pause the video if you need more time. Nice and simple. Fold, call, and raise. Those are the 3 things that hero can do right now. So the next question, of course, which is most positive EV of those 3 options? And to help you, there's an EV spectrum. So maybe visualize where these 3 options fall along the spectrum. But here's my answer. And of course, pause the video if you want a little bit more time. Raise is the most positive EV. We flopped that set. Things are looking really good to go for value. Look at this player, right? C-betting at 33%. In general, they are a flop-honest player when it comes to C-betting. Now, I know this is a donk bet, but C-betting and donk betting, when people have their general ways of playing as the aggressor or as the passive player on the flop, regardless of their play, it usually means the same thing. So honest C-better is an honest donk better right here. And you've got such a strong hand. The thing about raise, so calling is positive EV. It's not a bad play. I wouldn't fault you if you made that play. But here's the thing. You don't want to slow play when you have a strong hand against somebody who likely has a strong hand as well. Because you've got to get value while the getting's good. Especially if you're playing at 2NL, 5, 10, 25, 50 NL, right? The lower stakes where players make more mistakes, you've got to capitalize on that and go for the value while you can. Same situation right here, but let's think about your opponent's range. What ended up happening, as you can see on the flop, villain donk bet, hero decided to raise a pretty hefty amount from $1.30 in the donk bet or so, almost 3 times as much, and then villain decided to shove. What are hero's options? Yep, simply fold or call. There's no betting and no re-raising right here because villain is all in. So which is the most positive EV? Again, there's the EV spectrum to help you visualize it. And from that last video, right, you should have this written down on a sticky note on your monitor. You should be looking at it every time you face a post-flop decision. My answer here, calling is the most positive EV. Definitely, you can see how far to the right of the spectrum it is. And then once again, folding is right there at neutral EV because when you fold, you don't risk or lose any money. So what is villain betting and then shoving here? Remember, they donk bet and now they shoved. Is it any ace, sets, 2-pair hands, and or draws? Just tell me all that apply. My answer? I think this flop-honest player can easily bet any ace, ace-jack, ace-10, ace-king even, calling you pre-flop. Any set, which I guess is only the pocket 3s, unless they're capable of betting and they're just slow playing by calling pocket aces. But of course, there's 2-pair hands, ace-queen and ace-3 as well. And really, this flop-honest player, if they're deciding to bluff with that donk bet, I doubt they're shoving on their draws, especially when you show strength by coming over the top. I don't think draws are in their bluffing range. or raising range, I should say. All right, question 3, calling a 3-bet. That's the situation we're in now. So you can see we're on the flop, but the pre-flop action right here, hero open raised, villain 3-bet, and to only 7.5 big blinds. So it was a smaller 3-bet. And of course, hero decided to call. Flop comes down 9-5-4. Villain c-bets. Look at that c-bet though. What does that tell you, if anything? So what are hero's options? And we'll get to that sizing in just a second. Hero's options are fold, call, and raise once again. Now, which is the most positive EV? Once again, there's the EV spectrum to help you out. So my answer right here is raising is the most positive EV. Now you can see it's not all the way to the far right of the spectrum like on the prior hand with the pocket queens was, but it's still a positive EV play. And let's think about that here. Your opponent is betting a tiny 1/5, it's actually slightly less than 1/5 pot. Total weakness, right? You can imagine ace king, ace queen, king queen, pocket eights, pocket deuces that decided to 3-bet preflop. There are so many weak hands that are making this tiny attempt at a bluff. They could be even some flush draws, queen, jack of clubs, something like that as well, right? So you have a ton of fold equity because they have so many weak hands in their range. Right here, you have a ton of fold equity when raising. So to me, the obvious play is to raise. Most positive EV. You can take this pot down right now. They 3-bet 7.5 big blinds pre-flop, 3 now. That's 10.5 big blinds they've put out there. If you raise and take it down, that's a really nice addition to your bottom line. And here's the ultimate thing. When you smell that weakness, attack. Especially when you have that fold equity on your side. Alrighty. Now, should we attack or not? So hero, should we attack on the turn? I guess I should say. So hero raised on the flop and then villain called. So hero did that raise, and you can see that pot is now $4 right here. The turn, the 5 of hearts comes. Villain checked. So remember, they made that tiny 1/5 bet, 1/5 pot bet on the flop and then called you. They check on the 5. What are your options as hero? Yep, your options are to check or to bet. Remember, always consider your options. Don't do anything by default. What's the value in checking here? What's the value in betting here? Always ask that. But a really important question too is which is most positive EV of your two options, checking or betting? Again, EV spectrum to help you out. Yep, I would say right now, checking is neutral EV, just like folding is, right? You're not risking any chips when you do that. And then betting, I think it is positive EV because that 5 doesn't necessarily help villain in any way. You could imagine on that flop, when you raised their bet, you could have a set of 9s. You could have quad 5s. You could have a full house, 4s full of 5s right now. You could have pocket 10s or jacks, which just called their 3-bet pre-flop, and you're crushing their king, queen, and queen, jack, those kinds of hands, right? So you're way ahead of them. They should be scared of you. The 5 does not help their range. So betting definitely has fold equity on your side. And so that's why I think it's positive EV. You're winning the pot more often than losing it here. But what size is most positive EV? Let's say you want to bet 1/3 pot, so a tiny little $1.33, half pot at $2, 2/3 pot, or maybe 3/4 pot. And my answer, what's most positive EV? I'm thinking 3/4 pot right here. You're telling him you mean business. If you had that full house on the, a set on the flop that improved on the turn, yeah, you would make that huge kind of bet, right? Not conversely, but along with that, if you had pocket 10s or jacks for a strong overpair, then yeah, you'd be making that big bet as well, right? Because that 5 doesn't hurt your range at all. It only helps you potentially win this hand more often right there. Alrighty, thank you very much for taking this quiz. I hope you enjoyed those 10 questions. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment down below this video, and I'll see you in the next one.